Hey y'all. So I was on the pediatric behavioral health unit today. Um, and so the article that I'd found was talking about pediatric behavioral health and family burden. And so the article had found that with kids who had moderate to severe um, like mental health issues, the relationship between um, like their socioeconomic status, um, and the incidence of them having mental health was like disproportionately related, which kind of does make sense, but it also kind of like shocks you at first that it's mostly the higher socioeconomic class that you kind of see pediatric mental health issues. So that was interesting to see, and that the family burden is a whole lot higher with pediatric like behavioral health or kids. And so the patients I cared for today mostly all had came in with previous diagnosed depression, and about half of them that were on the floor were admitted due to a suicide attempt. There was a trend of like from the notes on the charts, there was a trend of like a lot of this being due to quarantine, and how just being at home and being with parents that are possibly abusive and not being able to go to school or anything else just kind of escalates everything along those sorts. And so there's been a lot more suicide attempts, um, and a lot more incidents of depression and stuff like that. So that was what was mostly on the unit. There were some sexual assault victims, whether that was the reason they were there or whether that was had happened in their childhood, and that just kind of stems from like why they have these mental health issues. So yeah, there was not a lot nursing going on, like nursing care, um, which I thought was very interesting. I didn't get to go to Broughton last semester, so I don't really know what psych nursing is. And one of the nurses like was talking to me. She was like, "We don't do enough here. Like the incidence of them coming back is high, and we could be doing so much more, but um it's like the money, the people up high don't care to change things because it's $5,000 a day to stay in those beds, and they want the money." So that's extremely sad. Um, I just went off on a tangent. Um, the most interesting or exciting thing, definitely not exciting, but the most interesting thing was just reading their charts. Because just by looking at the patient, you have no clue what is going on. And, sitting in the group therapy sessions, like they're all laughing and cutting up with each other, like they just seem like normal kids. But it's what happens behind closed doors. And you would never know if you were just, sitting in a room listening to them interact with each other. Um, Whenever they kind of got quiet, that's when you saw them like hanging their heads and like stuff like that. And it was super sad. Um, but yeah, it was just interesting to kind of see their background and why they were there. Because it's heartbreaking for a child that young to have to go through something like that. Um, um, Questions you have after dissertation. So, like I said, my one of the nurses talked to me for a while and was saying how like she before, like in March, when she's a travel nurse, when she got put at Baptist in this unit, she was like, "Oh, this is great, like they do so much." And then in the middle of COVID and everything, she moved up to Vermont on another behavioral health place, and they do so many more interventions for the kids, so many more group therapy. They actually do individual therapy. They do like yoga, meditation. I think it's called Tai Chi, and I think we even talked about that in our psych. And they do all these great things for the kids, and they have a whole lot lower incidence of them coming back, getting readmitted. Um, but then when she came back, she was like, "We are not doing enough." And when you go to the higher up, they don't care because they just want the money, and that's so sad. Um, so I guess like a question is like, how do you fix that? How do you fix the upper people from only caring about the money that they're receiving rather than why they're here to get better and to have better outcomes and to help them overcome the mental health battle that they're going through rather than only caring about the $5,000 a day that they're receiving from them being there. Um, Share one thing you feel you would like to improve on. I would say communication with the patients because I was super intimidated to talk to like psych patients. Like I feel like we talked about this in class. I feel like I shouldn't have looked at the charts first and I should have gone to like a group session first. Because after like looking at their diagnoses and like seeing what they've been through, I like couldn't look at them and not think like I'm so sorry. Like it was like pity. So definitely like communication. Uh we can always improve on communication, but especially with this population, it was really heavy. Um, so yeah. And then one thing I feel like I excelled at, well, I didn't really get to do much today. It was like strictly observation. Um, and I honestly didn't get to talk to the patients all that much. Um, so I don't know if I really excelled at anything, but I did dig really deep into their charts. But anyway, that was my experience at the PEDS Behavioral Health Unit. It was definitely different than I expected. Um, yeah, I really don't know what I expected, but it was different than what I expected. So yeah, thanks.